Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Liverpool must follow Man City example after Conor Bradley blow and bring forward transfer plan. Having fought so hard to retain Marc Guéhi's services in the summer, helping block a £35 move to Liverpool on transfer deadline day in the process, Oliver Glasner's stance has seemingly softened now the window has reopened. Guéhi is out of contract at the end of the season, and it has already been confirmed that he will not be signing an extension at Selhurst Park. The expectation had been that the 25-year-old would see out his current deal before having his pick of the clubs as a free agent come the summer. But after Manchester City lost both Joško Gvardiol and Ruben Dias to injury last weekend against Chelsea, leaving them short at centre-back as a result, the prospect of Guéhi moving on mid-season has re-emerged. Sure enough, in contrast to last summer when he came out fighting to keep his captain, Glasner conceded that Palace would likely sell Guéhi in January if an acceptable bid was made. Everybody wants that he plays for Crystal Palace, signs a new contract and stays here forever, the Eagles boss said earlier this week. On the other side, there's the situation that the contract ends in the summer, and if somebody is coming, there will be a moment when the club says, now the financial issue is more important than the sport issue. We have to do it and try to get the best. That's why I'm always saying, I don't know, because this is different. There will be a threshold where the club has to say sell. If the player says, I want to leave, and the money is above the threshold, it will happen. I'm not so naive not to know that if a massive offer comes from City and Marc wants to do it, it will happen. Glasner would later reiterate his desire to keep Guéhi and share his belief that the defender would stay put. But the door for a mid-season exit seemingly remains ajar. Liverpool remain interested in the England international and are among a number of clubs planning a pitch to the player when his contract at Selhurst Park expires at the end of the season. When Arne Slot was asked about City's rival interest in Guéhi, he understandably remained tight-lipped before insisting he was happy with his current squad. Consequently, should the Etihad outfit indeed make a move for the former Chelsea youngster this month, it remains to be seen if the Reds will accelerate their own plans. But given the fact that City's own discussions regarding a possible mid-season move for Guéhi, rather than waiting until the summer when he becomes a free agent, were inspired by their own defensive injury crisis, you wonder whether Liverpool should now follow suit. The Reds are already short on options at centre-back, having seen Giovanni Leoni suffer an ACL injury on his debut back in September. While Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate have avoided enforced absences, Liverpool have seen Joe Gomez also miss a number of games through injury. Meanwhile, Slot's options have also frequently been depleted at right-back, with both Jeremy Frimpong and Conor Bradley suffering more than one layoff. The Northern Ireland international is now likely facing another prolonged stint on the sidelines after being stretchered off against Arsenal, and having been seen leaving the Emirates on crutches, with Slot admitting after the final whistle that he feared the worst. Such an injury came only a day after the Dutchman shared his relief at Gomez's return from a hamstring layoff. While conceding it is never ideal to have only two centre-backs available. While Bradley is not a centre-back, any absence will only increase the strain on Liverpool's stretched backline. Gomez will now vie with Frimpong to start at right-back in the absence of Bradley, yet the latter had been utilised further forward during Mohamed Salah's time away at the Africa Cup of Nations. While the Egyptian will return later this month, Frimpong's own hamstring woes this season emphasise how the Reds still have to tread carefully and cannot rely on him to play every single game between now and the end of May. Consequently, his game time will be shared with Gomez, but that in turn will strain Liverpool's options at centre-back, with it quite possible that Slot will also have to start his own available alternative to Van Dijk and Konate. Admittedly, it makes little sense for the Reds to sign a new right-back in January in response to Bradley's injury. Whenever he is back, they would have two natural options once again, not including Gomez, regardless of any hypothetical new arrival. It makes little sense to bloat the position in the short term. But should Liverpool revisit interest in Guéhi this month in response to Bradley's absence, it would enable them to use Gomez at right-back without depleting their centre-back options, while strengthening a position they already intended to add to in the first place. The Reds would have signed the Palace skipper in the summer, had his club not had an 11th-hour U-turn, and would happily sign him on a Bosman transfer when his contract expires. Evidently, it is a transfer Liverpool would like to complete, and while the Reds had previously wanted to wait until the end of the season, their latest defensive injury could change the landscape. Dijk, Konate, Gomez and Frimpong, They boast only 4 senior players to cover 3 starting defensive positions, and 6 players to cover their entire back 4. With an entire half of the season still to play, such a total would not be enough, even overlooking the checkered injury past of the latter trio. It would be naive to think such a total is enough. Something has to give. Defensive injuries at Man City prompted such a conversation at the Etihad regarding a mid-season move for Guehi. Having now been strung themselves, and having already come so close to signing the Palace star in the summer, Liverpool bosses would be wise to do the same. Liverpool next captain becoming clear as Arsenal gulf nothing to do with talent. Well, that was much more like it, wasn't it? While they had to settle for a 0-0 draw, Liverpool's performance in Thursday's stalemate with leaders Arsenal at the Emirates was a timely reminder of who the defending Premier League champions are. Yes, retaining their title remains effectively out of their reach, but the Reds, now unbeaten in 10 matches in all competitions, have given themselves a platform to build on in a second season half of a season that offers 2 chances of silverware plus an all-important top 4 finish. Liverpool begin the quest for the first of those trophies on Monday when they welcome Barnsley to Anfield for an FA Cup third-round tie. And ahead of that match, our Reds fans' jury have returned to have their say. 2 draws in the capital over the last week have, cumulatively, and particularly via the respective second-half displays, offered further evidence of steady progress and of a path forward for Liverpool. They've brought differing emotions. Sunday's 2-2 at Fulham, following Harrison Reed's late howitzer for the Cottagers, was somewhat stinging, while Thursday's 0-0 at leaders Arsenal was broadly satisfying. Yet again, signs of headway and the need for improvement in areas pervaded each encounter in differing ways. Goals for Florian Wirtz and Cody Gakpo bookmarking a good response to going behind were among last weekend's most notable upsides. Particularly given Hugo Ekitike's absence, there was plenty to take from the point at the Emirates. Milos Kerkez's mettle at left-back, the midfield's battling and controlling qualities, and Jeremy Frimpong's pertinent threat, to name a few. Let's hope Connor Bradley's injury isn't as bad as it looked. Monday's visit of Barnsley in the FA Cup third round may represent a chance to rotate but will, once more, require diligence as we look for our first win of 2026. It is also a reminder of how much there is still to fight for this season. Securing a Champions League spot for 2026-27, going deep in this term's competition, and pursuing a domestic cup represent exciting routes to continue that aforementioned progress. You can take so much heart from that well-battled point at the Emirates in the midweek. It's one of those matches you can perhaps file next to Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and even the reverse fixture at Anfield to show that we can still summon the spirit of champions when needed. In a season where there have been few green shoots, I think most Reds should be happy to revel in a point and disregard some of the negatives like Connor Bradley's ominous injury and our lack of firepower for now. To echo Dominik Szoboszlai, that point should be a great launchpad for us moving forward. The Hungarian once again epitomized everything great about Liverpool's performance. There was a dogged determination on show, which will have many rightly touting him as a future captain of the club. Looking ahead, we have 2 eminently winnable fixtures on the horizon now with Barnsley then Burnley, and, having continued our undefeated run, it feels like we might really have turned a corner. Thursday's clash against Arsenal provided an opportunity to test ourselves against the top-performing team this year. With a depleted front line and a panicky backline, my confidence was low and my nerves high. In isolation, it was a solid away performance against the top team in the league. Arsenal's performance was underwhelming, but much of this was down to the way that Liverpool stifled their play. Being able to prepare a well-thought-out away game plan and being able to execute it with a well-fought performance should give us some confidence for potential big European ties on the horizon. Much of Liverpool's recent success has been down to the pace and ferocity in attack. The triumvirate of Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah and Roberto Firmino is the best example of this. Jeremy Frimpong's introduction into the team has given us a taste of the flavour of the Jurgen Klopp Liverpool. Frimpong was ably assisted on the right side by a competent, marauding display from Connor Bradley. Dominik Szoboszlai underlined the point before the Arsenal game that Liverpool are the current champions. The game against Arsenal made it clear that there isn't a gulf between the teams. It's our underperformance this year that has led to our drop in standards, rather than any drop in talent. With Chelsea and Manchester United back in flux, we now have a real opportunity to cement our claim for a top 4 finish.